we'll say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right, now, first and foremost, allow us once again to thank each and every one of you and all of you together collectively for the co-creation of this interaction. Once again, each and every time you are willing to co-create these interactions with us, it forms a bridge, a link, and a connection between our reality and yours so that we can, together, more and more every day in every way, create a third new reality in which we can both interact in new ways. So we thank you for the gift that you have given to us of sharing. We would like to begin this idea, this transmission, this night of your time, by discussing something that we have labeled debunking the debunkers, talking about the gullible, the skeptical, the cynical. The idea has been expressed many times on your planet that there are unusual phenomenology that occur from time to time that many individuals on your planet either do believe or do not believe are occurring. Obviously, there are certain things that are perhaps misinterpretations of certain things. This can happen. Obviously, not every single thing that someone may think is a certain thing is a certain thing. Nevertheless, the idea of finding balance within your investigations and your relation to the idea of unusual phenomenon in your world is one that requires a clear, concise approach to remain in balance. And the idea is that what you call being skeptical is in and of itself a natural, healthy point of view, especially for your world, where there are so many deceptions that may occur on your planet, so many different agendas that may occur, and that individuals may wish to take advantage of others. Therefore, remaining skeptical can, in your world, be a healthy thing to do. However, the idea is that skepticism, by definition, is an open-minded state of a willingness to explore something, a willingness to look at what you call evidence, a willingness to understand your relationship to it, your personal relationship to it, and a willingness to allow for a new belief to come in, to challenge the old belief you may have been holding on to. Not the idea that you must change your belief, but a willingness to allow for the possibility that your beliefs, be they long held or cherished, may nevertheless require some change. The idea, of course, is that on polar opposite sides of the balance point of skepticism are the issues of gullibility and cynicism. We have said once before that cynicism, the formula for cynicism is CIA. Cynicism equals ignorance plus arrogance. Now, the understanding is that unlike the idea of open-minded skepticism, where you are willing to investigate, willing to take in new information, open to the possibility of changing your point of view, cynicism is that which has its mind made up, has a belief system and an agenda totally intact, and is unwilling to change. The idea being, therefore, that cynicism dismisses any new ideas that may challenge the paradigm that exists within. Gullibility, for most of you, means being open to accepting just about anything without any kind of filtration system, without any kind of discernment. The idea, however, is to recognize a fascinating fact about the polar opposites of gullibility and cynicism. They are not polar opposites. They are different versions of the same thing. Gullibility also has cynicism within it. Cynicism also contains a great degree of gullibility. Allow us to explain. The fundamental similarity between gullibility and cynicism is the same issue. I believe what I believe, and nothing will change that despite any evidence to the contrary. The gullible, in accepting everything without any kind of discernment, are actually saying the same thing. I have a belief system that I do not want to change no matter what. It's the same thing that the cynics say. I have a belief system I do not want to change no matter what. The gullibility inherent in cynicism is this. When a cynic often looks at the so-called actually investigating the true evidence, the true story, may simply be gullibly accepting the folk tale and using that and dismissing that as if they are dismissing true scientific evidence, when in fact all they're doing is saying the folk tale may not be actually representative of what's actually going on, and therefore because the folk tale is not true, the reality must also not exist. And so by saying that, by approaching it that way, the cynic has actually gullibly swallowed the general folk tale that has been put forth by individuals who may in fact be gullible. So in that sense, the gullible and the cynical have a connected relationship, a marriage of sorts, and they feed off each other, all pushing away from each other in that sense, leaving the idea of skepticism in the center. So all we are basically suggesting here is that you, in your investigation of anything that you may hear that seems unusual in your world, allow yourselves to remain in the center, in balance with your investigation as to whether or not it means something to you, whether or not it ought to be incorporated into your belief system structure, whether or not it really serves you in a positive, beneficial way, and allow yourself to maintain a sense of discernment as to what is and what is not appropriate for you. Now, of course, we understand there are many different points of view, many different belief systems, and for each and every individual, whatever belief system they are holding to be true for themselves at any given moment is true for them at that moment, even if it seems contradictory to another. But the only reason we are discussing the issues of gullibility and cynicism in this context is because very often the idea of those who are gullible and accept everything, and those who are cynical and accept nothing, often attempt to push that point of view on others. So if you are going to have a particular point of view that you believe is contradictory to anyone else's point of view, by all means, you are entitled to create that for yourself. But understand, you are not entitled to create that for anyone else. The idea is that each and every single one of you have the power, have the given gift to decide what is true for you, but do not have the ability to decide what is true for anyone else. Therefore, in the idea of accepting what is true for you as being all well and good, the idea, therefore, of communicating it to another is where the idea of balanced skepticism comes into play, in that when you transmit information that you may feel is true for you and would never likely change, the idea of sharing that to be balanced always comes with the allowance that whoever you are sharing that point of view with does not in any way, shape, or form need to believe you. And that's not what it's about. Sharing the idea of a point of view is an opportunity to give someone an option to consider another idea, another belief, another point of view. But it is only an option. It is only a sharing. It is only an opportunity to decide for themselves whether your point of view works for them, whether it's something they can form a consensus agreement upon. But no one really needs to do that. In fact, as we have stressed several times, none of you even need to believe anything we have just said. This is our point of view. This is our perspective. This is our understanding from our civilization based on our experience, our evolution, and what works for us. Now, yes, it is true. There are some general consensus ideas and beliefs that are common to almost everyone on your planet. These are the things you have already created a consensus agreement about that are put on, shall we say, automatic pilot, so you don't have to really think about them day to day. You can get on about the business of simply living your life without having to think about the idea of whether gravity is suddenly going to cancel on you. That's a consensus agreement that there is such a thing as gravity. Nevertheless, obviously, in this day and age of exploring consciousness and beginning to realize that physical reality is only an illusion and that you create whatever you are experiencing it to be, Many individuals are beginning to explore and examine the possibility that gravity may not necessarily be such a given, that solidity may not necessarily be so solid, that things are malleable, that space-time can be flexible, stretched, bent, altered, and experienced in a new way. And the more you allow your vibrations to focus on these things, the more you will synchronistically experience the results of that point of view, of course, because this is the general consensus you have all agreed to explore, especially in this lifetime, the idea of the expansion of consciousness, which then brings the realization that physical reality is nothing but your game, your creation, your illusion, your experience. Physical reality itself, as we have said several times, is not unto itself a real, solid thing outside you. The experience of physical reality is real, but not the physical reality itself. It's just a mirror. Nevertheless, you have, to a great degree, created some consensus reality. But as that changes for several individuals, as there is created new points of view, and as there is consensus even among small groups about different points of view from the general consensus, new bubble realities are thus then created within the overall consensus agreement. As time goes on, as you proceed in your investigation of things that have historically been considered unusual, unbelievable, unreal, and start to find out that many of them in fact are real, are very believable, are in fact extremely experienceable by each and every one of you, you will thus then imbue the general consensus reality with more and more vibrations that are representative of more people's ability to see some of those unusual things actually come to pass, come to fruition, become more concrete, more stable, more experiential. That will happen over the course of time as you create time to exist. But nevertheless, in this transitional timing that's going on now on your planet, when each and every one of you are really busy about the experience of deciding what is true for you and what kind of a reality you really wish to experience your life to be, as you redefine yourselves, find out what you have been labeling things as and change those labels to suit the idea of your true, natural, joyful selves, which is available to you all without exception. As you go through this process, all that we are suggesting to you that has worked for us is that you allow yourself to be open to the possibility that as you adopt new beliefs, that those beliefs in and of themselves are no more capable of becoming concrete than you wish them to be, and that they themselves are always open to change as you gain new understanding and new perspectives of yourself as an aspect of creation. So, if you wish to experience the idea of gullibility and accept everything, as you say, willy-nilly, that's your choice. But it will allow you to take a longer time to create for yourself the ability to discern what actually works best for you and what does not. If you wish to create the idea of a cynical point of view, be our guest. You are entitled to create that if you wish. But again, from our experience, we simply caution you that it will allow you to create more time in which to create the reality of your preference. Only the balance point is the thing from our experience that allows you to create the reality you prefer in an ever-flexible, ever-changing, rapidly accelerating manner. So it's up to you to decide what you prefer. Doing it slowly, doing it quickly, doing it in between at a pace that is comfortable for you. It's up to you. But recognize simply that all of it is your creation. All of it. And that every point of view is valid, but there are always consequences to the choices you make, mechanically speaking. Of course, many of you understand that when we say consequences, we are not discussing the issue of punishment or anything like the idea of negative judgment. We are simply talking physics, mechanically. There is always a reaction to every action. And therefore, it's about gaining more discernment about what the consequences are mechanically for every action that you take, for every stance that you take, for every state of being you choose to be in. The idea, therefore, is to allow yourselves to recognize that you can make choices that will determine what kind of experience you have, And if you are not enjoying the experience you are having, you can allow that to change by making different choices. It's really as simple as that. I know that for many of you it doesn't seem to be that easy because you have a difficult time figuring out how to get in touch with what choices you're already making that are creating the experiences you say you don't want. But nevertheless, it's actually a relatively simple thing to do. All you have to do is get in touch with the thing that you are using to define, the label you are using to define any particular experience that you are having. And once you get a handle, as you say, once you make transparent the label you have been using, whether consciously or unconsciously, to define the reality that you are experiencing, it will become clear why you have been experiencing the things that you have. Because as you label a thing, so thus then does the consequence issue therefrom and give you that experience. What you put out is what you get back, as we have said many times and call the third law of creation. Therefore, balance is the key, literally, that will unlock all perspectives to you and give you the discernment to decide. Even if it's through the auspices of figuring out what you are not, to decide what it is you truly prefer to be. Many people on your planet will take that route. They will explore many things. They will find that it will allow certain kinds of negative experiences to happen in their lives, but that may simply be their way of exploring what they are not to more clearly define what they are. And when you choose to go from the darkness to the light, in that sense, when you choose to balance yourself out, then by having gone into the darkness to define what you are not, it may be that much simpler for you to define what you are and that much easier to go into the light and create realities of your preferential choice that are in alignment with your true core self. Is this making some sense to you?
Yes.
All right. So, the idea, therefore, to simply sum up the issue of debunking the debunkers is to pay attention to the fact that when individuals seek to debunk, they are often themselves simply afraid to look at new ideas, new things. When an individual is also gullible enough to accept everything without discernment, it is also the same issue. They are afraid to see something else that they think will be something unacceptable, something distasteful, something to be feared. You may have that experience, but none of it is empirically true. There is nothing to fear in anything that you will discover. Every single thing you will investigate, every single thing, the deepest fear, the greatest joy, every single thing that you will investigate, you will always, I guarantee you, discover simply more of yourself, more of your true core being, because that's all there is to discover. However, as we said, you do not need to take our word for it. We know it works from our experience, and many of you know it works from your experience. All of you have the ability to experience it for yourselves, and we will leave it up to you to choose to do so if you wish.